Hello and welcome to another edition of Under the Leaf, the channel where we venture out into ordinary settings in search of extraordinary little creatures. And today's adventure brings us out to Leith Hill, which, as you can see, is a gloriously vibrant forest, very densely populated with these ferns, plenty of fir trees, deciduous trees, all manner of foliage, and more importantly, home to, I'm sure, millions of tiny creatures waiting to be discovered. So, let's just get cracking. Let's get our camera out and see what kind of fascinating little animals we can see. And in today's episode, we're going to be focusing on shield bugs. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, we did find a shield bug in the form of a forest bug. Well, in today's mini adventure, we've discovered a whole host of different shield bugs, and we're going to start off by looking at these amazing sloe bugs we've found. So, what are some interesting facts about these sloe bugs? Well, along with the green shield bug, they are probably the shield bug we are most likely to see in the UK. Part of the reason for this is the fact that they're able to survive the winter by sheltering in safe locations and becoming active again once it's warm enough. The sloe bug gets its name not because they move slowly, but from their love of blackthornberry bushes, also known as sloe bushes. They do, however, seem just at home on a variety of other plants. For example, the bush we found them on here has a mixture of ferns and blackberries. Sloe bugs are sometimes referred to as hairy shield bugs, and you can see here that they are covered in tiny hairs. They're the only shield bug species in the UK to have this feature, and the younger nymph forms of sloe bugs are even hairier. Look at this one, it's like a little furry little bug. But why are these sloe bugs so hairy? One theory is that they increase the bug's perception of their immediate environment, much like a cat's whiskers do. They also add another layer of camouflage, making them look less shiny and helping them blend into the background. And speaking of camouflage, one of the features I love about these creatures is their colouring. I find it incredible to see how amazingly colour matched they are against these leaves here. The brown colouring just matches the edges of the leaves so perfectly. And while we're talking about colouring, this brings us on to another shield bug that we found in the same bush. This time it's a gorse shield bug. Like the sloe bug, they get their name from their favourite plant, the gorse bush. A very distinctive plant. It's extremely prickly, and earlier on in the year it has very bright yellow flowers. So here's a gorse bush in flower earlier on in the year, and this bush was home to a harlequin ladybird. Now back to the shield bugs. Like the sloe bug, the gorse shield bug is not completely dependent on the plant that it's named after. And going back to the subject of colouring, one interesting feature the gorse bug possesses is that they change colour throughout the year in order to remain camouflaged against the changing colour of the undergrowth as the seasons progress. Now this is actually the very first time I've ever seen a gorse shield bug, so unfortunately we can't look at the way it changes colour throughout the year, but what we can get a very good view of is the way their armour is covered in these tiny perforations, which is a feature of many shield bugs, but particularly obvious in this gorse shield bug. But why does it have this interesting feature? Well, there are a number of possible benefits. The irregular surface can help their muscles attach more securely to the inside of their armour. The tiny holes also reduce the weight of their armour without sacrificing its strength. And the fact that these little holes make them appear less shiny can also increase the level to which they are camouflaged. And we're not finished with shield bugs yet, because we've seen another species again on the same bush. This time it's perhaps my favourite shield bug, and this one is called the bishop's mitre shield bug. Very odd looking creature that gets its name from the way its shape is similar to a bishop's hat. Like the sloe and gorse shield bugs, its colouring is designed to camouflage it against its surroundings, but it's interesting that the three shield bugs we've seen today have different colour camouflages despite all being on the same bush. This bishop's mitre shield bug is perhaps more at home in dry grassland, judging by its colour. Now look at how it's wiggling its antennae. Why could it be doing that? Well, their eyesight is not very strong, So they rely very heavily on their antenna to sense what is going on around them. And by wiggling their antenna in this way, they can get a better reading of the chemicals and vibrations in the air around them. Perhaps it's trying to figure out why there's a giant human being pointing a camera at it. Or maybe it's trying to sense if there are any other Bishop's Mitre shield bugs nearby. These antennae are fascinating appendages, as the shield bugs can use them to smell, taste and physically feel their environment. They're packed with sensory cells that can sense chemicals transmitted from the plants they prefer to eat. Not only that, but they can also detect pheromones from other bugs. Now, pheromones are special chemical signals that animals can transmit outside their bodies in order to communicate with others. They are similar to the hormones we produce, but whereas hormones remain inside our bodies, pheromones are emitted into the outside world. I find it very interesting that these insects have this extra sensory dimension that we lack. It's not quite a sixth sense, because when they're receiving chemicals through the air, that is very similar to the way we smell. But the fact they don't have that sensation of inhaling as they smell means I can't imagine what it must feel like just to receive these chemicals being transmitted through the air. There are some mammals that use pheromones to communicate with each other, but it seems that we do not possess this ability. If we do at all, it must be on a very subconscious level. But these insects, with their very prominent antennae, are able to use this sixth sense very clearly, and I suspect it's impossible for us to imagine what this must feel like. We can perhaps just begin to imagine how they use their antennae to sense vibrations in the air around them, but even so, these antennae are such remarkably sensitive instruments, it's still impossible for us to truly appreciate how these amazing tiny creatures perceive their surroundings. One interesting feature that these shield bugs share is that their antennae are segmented and have movable joints along their length. This allows them to move their antennae more effectively in order to feel the surfaces of fruits, seeds and tree sap that they encounter in order to determine whether it's edible or not. Now, this is something we can relate to, as it bears some similarity to us rubbing our fingers over something to gauge its texture. It's certainly a very green place, isn't it? But I'm finding every now and then there's like this little tiny speck of red catches my eye. Have a look at this little creature called a plant hopper. Check this out. Now, I made a slight mistake there. This is in fact a frog hopper, which is very similar to a plant hopper, and there's also another family of insects which are called leaf hoppers, again very similar. Now, what we've encountered here is known as the red and black frog hopper, and although they are perfectly able to fly, we are much more likely to see them jump, which they are incredibly good at. We may be familiar with the jumping power of fleas, but these frog hoppers, despite being much bigger than fleas, can match the flea's ability to jump unbelievable distances. They can in fact jump over 100 times their own body length, which is equivalent to us jumping the length of 2 football pitches. And in order to jump such incredible lengths, they don't just use the muscles in their legs as we would. They load up and then suddenly release an arch-shaped spring inside their bodies to create a similar effect as firing an arrow from a bow. And I think here we can actually witness the process of it building up the energy it needs to perform these enormous jumps. If you look carefully, you can just see the bottom of its tummy vibrating like that. And there'll be a slight pause, and then there it goes. That's this amazing jump. Let's have a look at that again. Vibrating tummy, little pause, and then boom, off it goes. Incredible. So we're still on this amazing shield bug bush, and we found another amazing little creature to look at. Check this out. This is a lackey moth caterpillar, really bright blue. Incredible looking thing. And the funny thing is that when this does turn into the lackey moth, it's going to be quite brown and dull, to be honest. So you can never tell what the butterfly or moth is going to look like from looking at the caterpillar. And like the sloe bug, this is very hairy, isn't it? We get a lot of hairy caterpillars. So why is that? Well, there's a number of reasons, mainly for its protection. So if a bird sees like a really hairy caterpillar, it's going to be very difficult to swallow. Some of these hairs actually have poison inside them, If a caterpillar is particularly hairy, the hair could even help to keep the caterpillar warm, but also this hairy caterpillar perhaps shares the feature that these hairs allow the caterpillar to sense air movement around it, gives it a more complete perception of what's going on in its immediate vicinity. Now, we've seen in previous episodes that some insects like to have very bright colours as a warning system to potential predators to let them know that they taste very unpleasant. But this caterpillar goes a step further, and as well as its bright colours, it has these kind of pretend eyes on both ends of its body. So it's not just warning potential predators, it's actually making it look like it's much bigger than it really is, which is another level of deterrent to keep it safe. I do love these shield bugs. I don't know where to look. As soon as I point the camera at one place, there's another. Oh my god, I've got to get that moment. Amazing. And it's about to fly off, I think. It's about to fly off. Come on. Yes. Now, in our last couple of episodes, we've had a close-up look at how both the ladybird and the weevil fly. Now, they're both beetles. Now, the shield bugs, similar to beetles, of course, but they are in the bug family, as the name would suggest. But sometimes the word bug is not used correctly. You know, we could use the word bug to sort of describe a wide variety of insects, but these shield bugs, to avoid confusion, are often known as true bugs. So the way the bugs and beetles fly is a little bit different. So let's have a close-up look this time at how these shield bugs take off. So the main difference is that the shield bug doesn't have such an obvious layer of armour. You can actually see here that part of the wings remains exposed on the back and has no protection at all. And the layer of armour it does have is rather thinner than that the ladybird and weevil have. And perhaps before we finish looking at bugs, this is another shield bug, which we didn't see here today. This is from earlier on in the year, in another location. But because we're on the subject of shield bugs, I can't resist showing this to you because I absolutely love this one. And it's also interesting because it's a shield bug, like the Sloe Bug, Gorse Shield Bug, and Bishop's Mitre Shield Bug we've seen today. But it does have quite a difference in that this particular shield bug, its armour does completely cover the wings. This is a tortoise bug, and as you can see, it is very obviously a shield bug like the others we've seen today. It does have that difference where its wings are completely covered, a little bit like a beetle. So yes, we like Leith Hill, this very awesome place. Very complex network of paths forms this giant woodland maze which we've been wandering around very happily and quite randomly all afternoon, and then we happened across that incredible bush. And I'm very happy that we found that, because that just demonstrates why I'm trying to build this channel. Because I've been going on these little insect adventures for about 10 years. And I've never seen that Gorse Shield Bug. I have seen the Bishop's Mitre Shield Bug before. I've never got video footage of it. And I've certainly never seen that blue caterpillar. We may never see that blue caterpillar again for the rest of our lives. And yeah, this has been another very interesting episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. And again, we're going to have to find another interesting location for our next edition. And I hope you can join us for it when once again we look under the leaf.